the frozen shape in the snow. The wind howled like a wounded animal across the frozen land. Snow fell slowly, like cold ashes from the sky. The world was quiet now, too quiet. Once it was full of life, colors, cities, music. Now it was just white, gray, and silent. Eli pulled his coat tighter around his thin body. His boots sank into the deep snow as he walked past the broken ruins of what used to be a fuel station. The walls were cracked. The sign was hanging by a thread. He didn't come here for shelter. He came here because he needed to think. It had been 3 days since he last ate properly. His ration card had only 1 unit left. That meant 1 more warm meal or 1 more piece of clothing. Food or warmth. That was the choice now. Suddenly, Eli stopped. His eyes narrowed. There, ahead of him in the snow, was a shape. At first, it looked like a pile of frozen garbage. But no, it had form, arms, a face. He stepped closer. It was a body, tall, thin, barely covered in what looked like torn silver cloth. Skin pale, almost glowing. Hair white like snow, but not from age. This was not a human. Eli dropped to his knees. His breath formed clouds as he leaned close. The figure's chest was moving, slow, weak, but alive. Still breathing, he whispered. He looked around. No one. Nothing. Just snow and wind. Eli knew what he should do. Leave her. Walk away. Save himself. That's what anyone would do. But he didn't move. Instead, he pulled off his coat and wrapped it around the frozen body. She was ice cold, but he lifted her carefully into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, like carrying a hollow shell. He carried her back toward his outpost, an old bunker half buried under snow. The entrance was narrow, hidden behind a wall of scrap metal. He pushed it open with his foot and entered, breathing heavily. Inside, the air was warmer. A small heater glowed orange in the corner. He laid her gently on the only cot he had, then sat beside her, staring. Hours passed. She didn't wake. The next morning, Eli did something strange. He walked into the market. The market wasn't really a market anymore. It was just a group of survivors trading old junk for food, water, or warmth. Everyone wore layers of cloth, goggles, gloves. No one smiled. Eli walked to the old ration counter. The man behind it was wrapped in fur and smelled like burned plastic. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want clothes," Eli said. The man raised an eyebrow. "Not food." Eli shook his head. "Warm clothes. For someone." "Someone?" The man leaned forward. "You got someone in that bunker of yours, Eli? A woman? Something like that." The man laughed. Well, didn't think you had it in you. Last ration unit for love? It's not like that," Eli said quietly. He handed over his last card. The man grunted and threw a bundle of clean old clothes across the table. Blanket, sweater, thick socks. "Crazy old fool," the man muttered as Eli walked away. Back in the bunker, Eli changed the wet silver cloth on the woman's body and wrapped her in the warm clothes. He placed the blanket over her and checked her pulse again. Still alive. Still sleeping. That night, as the snowstorm grew stronger outside, Eli sat beside her, watching her breathe. He didn't know why he had done it. He didn't know who she was. Alien? Clone? Experiment? He had no answers. But for the first time in a long time, the bunker didn't feel so empty. He fell asleep in the chair, wrapped in a thin sheet. And just before dawn, a whisper filled the silence. One word. Soft, dry, fragile. Hunted. Eli opened his eyes slowly. The alien woman's eyes were open, bright, silver, unblinking. She stared at him with fear and confusion. Eli didn't move. He just whispered back, "You're safe now." But deep inside, something told him that was not true. Not even close. She stared at the ceiling like it was a puzzle. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the heater and the slow drip of water from a crack in the wall. Outside, the wind screamed like it always did. But inside, time stood still. Eli sat across the room, watching her. The alien woman, Nova as he now called her, hadn't moved much since she spoke that first word. Hunted. A single word. A warning, maybe. Or a memory. She didn't speak again that night. Now, 2 days later, she could sit up on her own, eat a little, even hold a cup of water in shaking hands. But she said very little. "Do you remember anything?" Eli asked. She looked at him. Her silver eyes were calm, but something was missing behind them. "Just snow, cold, and running," she said. Her voice was soft, like wind through broken glass. Eli nodded. He didn't push her. She looked human, almost, but something about her skin, her movements, her silence, reminded him she was not. She was from somewhere else. Maybe even from a war no one talked about anymore. Later that evening, Eli brought out an old box from under his cot. Inside were books, real books with pages yellowed and soft. "Found these in the ruins of a school," he said. Nova looked curious. He handed her a small one with faded drawings. A children's picture book. She turned the pages slowly. Then she stopped. Her fingers trembled. Eli leaned forward. "What is it?" She stared at one page. A drawing of Earth, blue and green, next to a larger, dark planet with rings around it. She touched the ringed planet. "I've seen this before." Eli felt a chill, but he nodded. "Do you remember its name?" She shook her head slowly. "No, but I was there. Or, I came from near it." She put the book down and held her head. "It's all broken, like shards of glass inside." Eli didn't know what to say. He handed her a glass of water. She drank, then whispered, "I lost someone." "A family member?" he asked. She didn't answer, but a tear rolled down her cheek. That night, Eli went outside to gather scraps. He didn't like leaving her alone, but supplies were low. He wrapped himself tightly and climbed through the snowdrifts toward the junk piles near the edge of the dead city. The sky above was dark, but not empty. A soft red light blinked in the clouds. High, far, almost like a star. But Eli had seen stars. This was not one of them. He turned and walked faster. Back in the bunker, Nova was alone. She stood near the small mirror, looking at her face like it didn't belong to her. Then, without warning, her arm lit up. Not fire, not electricity. A mark, faint and glowing, appeared under her skin. A strange symbol, curved like a spiral inside a circle. She gasped. Her breathing quickened. She grabbed a piece of cloth and covered the mark. Then she heard something. A beep, faint, metallic. She searched the floor. Near the cot, under it, she found a tiny metal object, no bigger than a coin, half buried in the dirt. It blinked red. Nova's eyes widened. "No," she whispered. "No, no." Far away, hundreds of kilometers from the frozen city, in a deep underground command bunker, a soldier stared at a screen. The red dot had returned. "Sir," the soldier said, "we've got movement. Tracking beacon is active again." A tall man with a steel jaw and a long scar across his cheek walked over. He looked at the screen. The red dot blinked steadily. Location: Sector D-47, Northern Wastes. The man smiled coldly. "After all these years, shall we deploy?" He nodded. "Send a retrieval unit. Quietly. No damage to the target." "Yes, Commander." The soldier hesitated. "Sir, if this is really her." The commander turned, his voice like ice. "She doesn't remember, but we do." Back in the bunker, Nova sat on the cot, holding the blinking tracker in her hands. When Eli returned, she didn't look up. He set the scrap down and asked, "Everything all right?" Nova finally spoke, her voice shaking. "They found me." Eli froze. "Who?" She looked at him, eyes full of fear. "The ones I ran from." The snow didn't fall that day. It waited. A strange silence wrapped the frozen land, like the world was holding its breath. Even the wind seemed to whisper slower, colder, watching. Inside the bunker, Eli sat by the heater, turning a broken spoon in his hand. He wasn't hungry. Not really. Just tired. Tired of questions, of fear, of trying to survive in a world that no longer wanted anyone to. Nova was quiet again. She hadn't spoken much since the tracker. Eli had thrown the thing into the fire, watched it melt like a dying eye. But he knew, so did she, it was too late. Someone was coming. He turned to her. "We need to move. Tomorrow morning." Nova didn't look up. She was holding a scrap of paper, torn from one of Eli's old books. A drawing. A sun and 2 moons above a black ocean. "I know this place," she whispered. Eli leaned closer. "What is it?" "I think it's home. My real home." Her voice trembled. "But I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember if anyone is still there." They packed quickly the next morning: blankets, a heater core, tools, a knife. No food. They had none left. Eli didn't say anything, but his stomach groaned like a dying engine. He looked at Nova. She walked slowly, still weak, but stronger than before. There was something else in her now. A light, maybe, or a shadow. They moved through the ice tunnels, forgotten sewer lines beneath the ruined city. The walls were cracked and frozen, full of echoes and stories no one remembered anymore. After hours of walking, they reached an old train platform buried under collapsed stone. In the corner sat a steel door, half open. Behind it, a library. Most of the books were dead, wet, frozen, unreadable. But in the center of the room stood something strange. A screen, still glowing faint green. Terminal. Ancient tech. Government issue. Nova touched it. The screen flickered, then came to life. Lines of data appeared, names, files, maps. She moved fast, like her hands remembered what her mind didn't. "I built this system," she whispered, "or helped design it. I think I was an engineer." "No, more than that." Eli stood behind her, watching. Then a file opened. A video. A conference room, shining and clean. Humans. Aliens. Sitting together. Talking. Smiling. At the front stood a tall man in a black uniform. A general. Beside him stood Nova. Alive. Laughing. Eli leaned closer. "Is that you?" Nova nodded slowly. "Yes. And that man was my husband." The video cut off. Static. Then, another image. Flames. Screams. Gunfire. The same conference room, destroyed. Bodies on the floor. A message appeared across the screen. "First contact piece failed. Human error. Shut down initiative." Nova stared. "They lied," she whispered. "They told your people we started the war. But it was them. One of them betrayed us. Killed everyone." Her hands trembled. "I survived. They froze me. Hid me. Why?" Eli didn't have answers. Only more questions. But outside the library someone did. A shadow moved through the tunnel. Boots. Metal scraping metal. A red laser scanned the wall near the entrance. It found a faint heat trail recent. The soldier tapped his helmet. "They're here." Back in the library, Nova found something else. A map, buried deep in the files. It showed a bunker in the south. A name she recognized. Project Halo. "That's where it happened," she said. "That's where the weapon was made. The one that burned the skies." Eli asked, "You built it?" "No," she said. "But I helped. Before I knew what it was." She turned away. "I thought I was building protection. But it became a weapon. It became war." She looked at Eli. "You shouldn't trust me." He shook his head. "I already did." Then bang. The steel door behind them slammed open. A soldier in dark armor stood in the entry, rifle aimed. "Target confirmed," he said into his mic. Eli raised his hands. "Don't shoot." But Nova stepped forward. The mark on her arm lit up again. Her eyes glowed silver. The air shook. And then boom! A shockwave of energy exploded from her body. The soldier flew backward into the wall. Unmoving. Silence. Eli stared at her in shock. "What was that?" Nova blinked. The light faded from her skin. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I think it's coming back." The soldier wasn't breathing. He lay still under a broken pillar, armor cracked, visor dark. Smoke rose from the place where Nova's power had hit him. Not fire, not heat. Something else. Something older. Eli didn't speak. He couldn't. His mind was frozen like the world outside. He looked at Nova expecting answers. She didn't have any. Her hands were shaking. Her chest rose and fell fast, like she was scared of herself. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. He believed her, but someone else wouldn't. They ran back through the tunnels, stepping over frozen bones and ice-coated cables. The energy blast had made noise, too much noise. More would come. Soldiers, drones. Worse, they had to disappear. Again. Hours later, deep in the ruins of an old broadcast station, they stopped to rest. Eli lit a fire using broken furniture and scrap wiring. Nova sat across from him, silent, hugging her knees. Her glowing arm was wrapped in cloth. Finally, Eli spoke. "What are you?" She didn't look up. "I don't know, but I wasn't like this before." Eli leaned forward. "That wasn't human power. That wasn't just energy. It was alive." Nova nodded. "There was a project. Long before the war. I think I was part of it. They said we were building a peace signal. A way to help alien minds understand human emotion. But," she looked at the fire, "they turned it into a weapon. Injected it into us. Modified us." Eli frowned. "You were one of the weapons?" "No," she said. "I was the test subject who ran." Outside, cold wind sliced through the broken walls. An old radio crackled on a rusted shelf. Then suddenly it came alive. Static. Then, a voice. "Subject 7. This is command. We know you're listening." Eli jumped. Nova stared at the radio, frozen. "Return to Halo Station. You will not be harmed. We have your memories. Your husband's voice. Your child's face. Come home." The voice was calm. Too calm. Robotic yet familiar. Then silence. Eli turned the radio off. Nova stood up. Her voice was steady now. "They think I'll come running back to remember love. But they forget. I remember the betrayal." As dawn rose, pink and dull over the white horizon, they moved again. This time heading south. Toward Halo Station. Toward answers. Toward danger. But not far behind, something followed. A drone. Black, silent, shaped like a stingray. It floated just above the ice, scanning footprints. It didn't beep. It didn't flash. It only watched. And reported. By noon, they reached a communication tower frozen sideways into the snow like a fallen tree. Inside, old computers and shattered screens. But one terminal still blinked weakly, powered by a dying solar node. Nova connected it to a small device she'd taken from the library. It uploaded fast. A file opened. A video again. This time clear. The date in the corner was from 10 years before the war. A human general stood at a podium. His voice played through the dusty speakers. "We made first contact with the Hellari people in peace. We offered knowledge. They gave trust. We made a promise. And we broke it." Behind him stood Nova. Not as she was now, but glowing, full of life. Wearing a blue badge that read, UN Voice Link. Nova 07. "We modified their minds. We tried to make them feel our grief, our anger, our fear. We called it empathy training. But we pushed too far. They saw everything. And some broke." The video glitched. Cut. Then returned. A secret meeting. Military uniforms. Dark suits. Nova's husband was there, arguing. "We can't use her. She trusted us." "It's too late," another voice said. "She's already fused. If she runs, she takes the code with her. Then we stop her." Gunshots. Screams. The video ends. Eli stepped back. "They were going to erase you." Nova closed her eyes. "They tried. But something inside me survived." She turned to Eli. "I wasn't just a test subject. I was the link between two minds. A bridge. But they broke it." Her eyes glowed faintly again. "They turned peace into a weapon." Suddenly, boom, the station shook. The wall behind them cracked open. Soldiers. 5 of them. Black armor. Pulse rifles. No words. Just red sights aimed at Nova's head. Eli reached for his knife, hopelessly small. But Nova stepped forward. Calm. Still. Bright. She raised her hands slowly. Her voice was not hers now. It echoed, deep, ancient. I remember now. The soldiers hesitated. One whispered, "She activated." And then, the screen behind them turned blue. A countdown began. Code link resonance, 57 seconds. Eli looked at her. What did you just do? Nova didn't blink. I called someone. Some moments feel longer than time itself. 57 seconds. That's what the screen said. That's how long they had. 57 seconds before the code Nova triggered reached whoever was still listening. Eli's heartbeat was loud in his ears. The soldiers didn't move. Nova didn't either. She stood in the middle of the room, her hands raised, eyes glowing faintly like cold stars. Calm, still, focused. The soldier nearest to her finally spoke, voice trembling behind his helmet. She's not just a survivor. She's the key. Nova tilted her head. Then why are your weapons still raised? No answer. The countdown ticked on. They didn't fire. They backed off, silent, almost afraid. Nova turned to Eli. We have to leave. Now. Eli didn't ask why. He just moved. They escaped through a broken lift shaft and climbed down into the dead tunnels beneath the station. Rusted pipes, cracked walls, long-forgotten machines lined the way. They didn't stop until the snow swallowed the signal tower behind them. Only when the cold quiet returned did Nova speak again. I remember everything now. Eli looked at her. All of it. She nodded. My real name is not Nova. That was my program title. Neural Operative Voice Anchor. Number 7. I was created to carry emotions between worlds. I was trained to speak for both sides. She touched her chest. But I was also married. They found shelter in a collapsed transit shelter. Bent steel and shattered glass above, but safe from the wind. Eli built a fire. Nova stared into the flames, eyes distant. He was the first human who ever listened to me, she said. A general, yes, but also a poet. He believed peace needed more than just signatures. Eli sat beside her. He fell in love with me during the first talks. I didn't know what love was, but he taught me. She smiled softly, just for a second. Then came the betrayal. Someone from the human side planted a virus in the empathy system, turned trust into pain. When my people connected, they saw only war. Eli's hands tightened into fists. And the general? Nova's voice was quiet. He tried to stop it. They silenced him. She reached into her coat and pulled out something, wrapped in cloth. Carefully, she opened it. A photo. Old. Faded. Nova stood beside a man with sharp eyes and a soft smile. His uniform bore the same symbol Eli had seen in the files. Halo unit. On the back, in handwriting, no matter what happens, come home with me. Eli stared at the picture. Something pulled at his memory. I've seen him before. My brother, he had this photo once. He said it belonged to a traitor. Nova looked up. Your brother? Eli nodded slowly. His name is Marcus. He was part of the Northern Command. I haven't seen him in years. But if he called your husband a traitor, then he knew the truth. Nova's voice turned sharp. Then your brother might be the one who started all this. Suddenly, a sound pierced the stillness. A low hum, mechanical, heavy, not snow, not wind, a ship. They rushed outside and looked up. Cutting through the sky was a black craft, smooth, silent, and fast. It passed over them and headed southwest. Nova whispered, "It's going to Halo Station." Eli turned to her. Then we're not running anymore. That night, as they camped near the edge of a collapsed highway, Eli finally asked what he had held in for days. Why did you save me? Why not just run alone? Nova didn't answer right away. Then she said, because you were the first person who saw me. Not as a thing, not as a threat, but as someone who needed help. She looked at him. You gave your last ration card for someone who didn't even know her name. Eli smiled, tired. You were worth it. Above them, stars flickered through the dark sky. One fell, a bright trail of silver across the black. Nova whispered something in her own language. Eli didn't ask what it meant, but it sounded like a goodbye, or maybe a promise. Then, from the shadows came a voice. Deep, familiar. Well, never thought I'd see you two together. They turned. A man stepped out. Armor, rifle, scar across his face. Eli froze. Marcus. His brother nodded. I've been watching since day one. Nova stood tall. You knew my husband. You lied about him. You called him a traitor. Marcus smiled coldly. He was. He chose peace. We chose power. He raised his rifle. But don't worry. I'm not here to shoot you. He pointed at Nova. I'm here to take back what Earth believes it owns. The gun stayed pointed at her. Not shaking. Not unsure. Eli stared at the man holding it, his own brother, Marcus. The same face, the same eyes, but something colder lived behind them now. You really believe Earth owns her? Eli asked, his voice quiet but sharp. Marcus didn't blink. She's not a person. She's a code container. She carries tech in her blood no one on Earth can recreate. Nova spoke, voice calm. I carry memories, emotions, a whole species' pain and hope. Marcus tilted his head. And that's exactly what makes you dangerous. A storm gathered behind them. Slow clouds rolling, low thunder cracking through the sky like warning drums. But they didn't move. Nova didn't run. She stepped forward. No more hiding. No more lies. If you're going to kill me, do it now. Marcus hesitated. His finger didn't tighten on the trigger. Instead, he lowered the weapon. Just a little. I'm not here to kill you, he said. I want what's in your mind. The raw code. The empathy imprint. That data belongs to Earth. And what happens when you have it? Eli asked. Marcus smiled faintly. We rewrite history. Erase the war. Say we were always right. Nova's eyes glowed again. Faint but steady. You were never right, she said. You feared what you didn't understand. And you destroyed it. Marcus stepped forward. You think I don't know what happened at Halo Station? I do. I saw it all. I helped launch the signal. I gave the order. Eli's stomach dropped. You started the war? Marcus looked at him, almost sad. I prevented extinction. We made contact too early. They weren't ready. Neither were we. So we forced it. He turned to Nova. And she was the perfect bridge. Until she ran. Nova's hands curled into fists. I ran because I saw the truth, she said. You didn't want peace. You wanted obedience. Suddenly, her arm lit up again. The symbol burned like frostbite. Energy pulsed under her skin. Marcus raised the gun again. That signal inside you, it's waking up. You can't control it. You're not meant to. Eli stepped in front of her. She's more human than you now. A silence followed. Cold. Final. Then Marcus laughed softly. You're choosing her over your own blood? I already did, Eli said. Then chaos. A second drone ship appeared overhead. It dropped flares, scanning the snow. Marcus looked up, distracted. Nova reacted. She raised her hand, and light burst out, not as a weapon this time, but as a memory field. Images flashed around them, in the air, in the snow, in the light itself. A room full of humans and aliens holding hands. Children laughing under two suns. Nova dancing in rain. The general, her husband, kissing her forehead before his last speech. It wasn't power. It was a life. Marcus stumbled back, blinded. Stop it, he shouted. Turn it off. Nova stepped forward. No more erasing the past. And then silence again. The images faded. Marcus dropped to one knee, breathing hard. The drone above backed away. Systems confused. Eli helped Nova down. She was weak again, shaking. That wasn't just projection, he whispered. No, she said. That was the truth. Forced into the world. Marcus stood slowly. He wasn't angry anymore. He looked broken. I remember him now, he said softly. Your husband. He told me once. Truth is heavier than weapons. Nova nodded. And you chose the lighter path. Marcus dropped the gun into the snow. It vanished under the white. "I can't stop what's coming," he said. "But I won't be the one to carry it anymore." He handed Eli a keycard. "Halo Station's southern gate. Still active. Go before the others arrive." Eli looked at his brother for a long moment, then took the card. They left Marcus behind, alone in the snow, a man caught between memory and regret. The wind picked up. Snow blew hard in their faces as they walked south, toward the mountains where Halo Station slept under the ice. Nova leaned on Eli. Her body trembled. The power inside her was changing. Faster now. "I don't have long," she whispered. "You'll make it," Eli said. She looked at him. "Even if I don't, promise me something. Anything. When it's over, tell them the truth." Above them, far in the clouds, a satellite blinked to life, awakened by her signal. Below them, in the ice, machines stirred, old buried weapons feeling heat for the first time in years. And ahead, a silver door, built into the mountain, waiting to open. The mountains didn't speak. They only stood cold and tall, as if they were guarding something. Below them, hidden behind snowdrifts and ice-glazed rock, was Halo Station. It wasn't a building. It was a wound in the earth, a buried heart, still beating. Eli and Nova stood before a smooth silver door, half covered in snow. No handles, no panels. Nova pressed the keycard Marcus gave them against a crack sensor. Beep, a slow hum. Then the door split open, releasing a breath of warm air. They stepped inside. The hallway was narrow and silent. Lights flickered overhead. The walls were lined with long dead screens and dusty warnings. Authorized personnel only. Do not access memory core without permission. Nova touched one of the walls gently. "I was born here," she whispered. Eli looked at her. "Born?" She nodded. "Not like a child. But this is where I became who I was meant to be." They reached a large chamber. In the center stood a massive column of glass and steel, glowing faint blue. It pulsed with slow, steady light. The empathy core, still alive. Nova stepped toward it. This machine, it linked minds. It made understanding possible. But when it was corrupted, it spread fear instead of peace. Eli watched her closely. "Can you stop it now?" Nova touched her chest. "If I connect again, I can rewrite it, reset the signal, remove the fear." "But," she looked at him. Her eyes weren't glowing anymore, just tired. "It will take everything. It was made to run on shared energy. I'm the last one connected to it. You'll die." She smiled, soft and small. "No, I'll go home." Eli didn't speak. He stepped closer, took her hand. "You're not alone anymore." Nova squeezed his fingers gently. "Thank you for not treating me like a weapon or a secret, just like someone worth saving." Tears ran down Eli's face, unfreezing before they hit his cheek. "I don't want you to go." She leaned in. "I know. That's why I can." She stepped into the center of the room. Cables moved. Lights flared. The air shifted. And then she lifted into the air, weightless. The glass column opened. Light poured from it, wrapping around her like a cocoon. Her voice echoed. Inside the room, inside Eli's chest. "Begin memory merge." Images flashed again, not just memories, but feelings. Hope, laughter, love, loss, fear, forgiveness. Not just hers. Everyone's. Human and alien. The empathy core glowed brighter than ever before. And then, stillness. The light faded. The column went dark. Nova was gone. Eli fell to his knees, staring at the empty chamber. Silent, hollow, but warm. For the first time since the war, the station was warm. Outside, in the sky above, something changed. The satellites that once watched for threats powered down. The weapons hidden in the clouds deactivated. Somewhere across the stars, a signal reached a planet with 2 moons and oceans the color of steel. And someone there whispered, "She came home." Days later, Eli stood alone near the edge of the mountain pass. The storm had passed. The wind was soft now, The sky was clearer than he had ever seen it. In his hand he held a small device, left behind by Nova. Inside it was her final message. Tell them the war was built on fear. Tell them peace is built on courage. Tell them, I chose both. Eli turned to walk back toward the outpost. Then he heard something. A small, strange sound like wind chimes. He turned. A child stood in the snow. Hair white, skin pale, eyes silver. Not afraid. The child looked up at him and said, She said you would watch over me. Eli stared, heart pounding. Who are you? The child smiled. Her message. Eli bent down, speechless. The child took his hand and pointed toward the sun rising behind the frozen hills. Let's go home.